have selected George Karlaftis. Big George! There we go!
I am so beyond excited that Josh Sinden getting a crack at left tackle.
It's really hard to win the AFC Championship.
Is it?
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our amazing partners in Possible, with us here for the first off-season episode of The Lab. I am here with Matty Lane. It's not a matter day today. We are hoping for it to be a matter day next week, but Matty Lane, what's good?
Listen, the NFL season is wraps. We are on to the draft season now, the better time of the year, especially this season for us Chiefs fans. So listen, no tears will be shed for me. It's been about 2 months now of knowing that this season was chalk. And so here we are. It came to a conclusion last night in the Super Bowl, which was a game that was played. And here we are. So I'm ready for the offseason.
I'm beyond ready. Just a spoiler alert, the KCSN draft guide will be available for pre-order, I believe, next week. I'm very excited about that. I can't wait. I'm so excited to get that thing out and get it going. We are rolling along with that. We're trying to give you some draft content every single episode, though, because we're so hyped. This is the most fun, like with the Chiefs having a top 10 selection, and like the Chiefs pick 40th in the second round. And that's 8 picks removed from where we normally see this team drafting anyway in their first pick. So it's just wild. It is so wild to have 2 picks like in the top 40. It's just such a weird year to do it. I will say, Matty, do you feel a little bit better as the draft process goes on about like what might be available at pick 40, what might be available at pick 74? Are you starting to feel better as you watch more tape?
No. Yes. No. I think it's not. Pick 40 is a wildly different world than pick 63 is. So that's been nice. Like, as we talk about it, a lot of the players that we are typically in a normal draft class that are going at pick 40 are players that we continuously talk about as options at pick 31, 32 for the Chiefs in other years. So from that perspective, you are essentially, that part of it's kind of cool. The problem is I just don't love this draft class. And we're not even at the part of the draft season where I get the most negative about players and hate everybody yet. And I am still not already excited about it. So I'm a little fearful for how March is going to go for my takes on draft prospects, because I don't think it's a very good class, but it is nice. That 40th pick is a lot nicer to have, I think, than I or most fans are giving it credit to initially.
I am feeling better about the class as it goes on. And I've always kind of maintained, like, I don't think, like, we make fun of bad drafts and all that stuff. And the truth is the worst draft ever, 2013, produced a ton of all pros and players that were the best at their position for large stretches. Lane
but
Johnson.
It's random. It's just more random. Bad class means more random, which in the way the draft is set up, where you don't get to have everybody, that does make it worse. Like if it's just, guys in the third round are becoming as good as everybody in the first round throughout a draft, that means it's still bad. It was just like it's more random who hits. So
it could be more random. That is true. And I think that is the case when the drafts aren't as strong. But I think the strength of this class is a little overstated. I think it's better than we're giving it credit for as we sit here on February 9th. It's better than I thought it was 2 months ago. Hopefully it is better. Once we finally get to April. But I do think there are some players, like I just remember like watching like some of the, like even some of like we were watching some tight ends and I was like, you know what? I don't think this guy is unwarranting of pick 74. Like I'm looking at some of these guys. I'm like, you know what? I would be comfortable with this guy in the top 100 picks. Like, and so like, I was like, this is a one pick tight end class. Well, there's some fun day 2 guys, for instance, like just using that as an example, but I'm looking forward to diving in further, and I'm looking forward to having everyone along for the journey with us in such a pivotal draft for the Kansas City Chiefs, where they need to nail some selections here in the 2026 draft to make their team better and start building for the second wave of the Patrick Mahomes era. Before we get to the Super Bowl game, Maddie, I need to know: did you go to a Super Bowl party?
Briefly for a little bit for like the first half. Yeah. It was what it was. Nobody was super locked in. The first half of this game in particular was a slog for a lot of people, especially I'm assuming fans of the Patriots or the Seahawks for different reasons had a lot of fun. But if you were a neutral fan watching this game, boy, I don't know how, especially in the first half, you had a blast. But yeah, I was at one for a little bit, watched the rest of the game at home, essentially by myself, because wife did not particularly care to watch a game with no points being scored, not her cup of tea. And so, yeah, that's how I went. What about you? Did you Super Bowl partied up?
Hosted.
Oh,
so I think we've hosted 10 straight Super Bowls, something along those lines. Maybe, I don't know, somewhere in there. My niece the other day asked my brother when we were having the Chiefs party, and she meant Super Bowl.
Oh man.
I mean,
brutal.
She didn't even,
I can't imagine hosting a Super Bowl party if the Chiefs are playing. I can't imagine.
So the group really does a good job. Like we have like a really good like dynamic, because most of us are about as locked in as I would normally be if I was just watching a regular game. Like, we're all pretty chill about it. There's no existential crises. We don't even really start getting too juiced up until like the fourth quarter. You know, it's just a big ball of anxiety in there. The vibes are actually really strong. It's a really good teams in the Super Bowl party group. I'm proud of our group and how we handle it. I'm proud of our maturity. But we had a good time. What I was curious though is, what was the best thing you ate?
Oh God, I didn't eat during it, so.
You didn't eat anything at a Super Bowl party?
I intermittent fast, so it was over before. Well, it ends like right around when the Super Bowl was starting. So like I had my dinner beforehand, and then I didn't eat the rest of the day.
What did you eat before you went to the Super Bowl party?
I had some meatballs and some Parmesan cauliflower rice.
Okay. I had maple bacon bourbon smoked cream cheese.
Oh yeah, I've had that recently actually. It's very good.
It was obnoxiously good.
Yeah, I gotta get the recipe from the in-laws so I can make it myself out on the smoker. But yeah, I did have that recently. It was pretty good.
Dude, that was insane. And so I put it on some crackers. I thought that was great. And then I put a little bit on the pulled pork slider, because I made a big thing of pulled pork, and I put some of that on a slider, and it was obnoxiously good. And then someone brought
Sounds delicious.
Homemade sweet potato fries or chips. Homemade sweet potato chips.
Okay. Do love some good sweet potato chips.
Also ridiculous. So we had a good time.
I'm glad you had some great food. But yeah, no, not eat during the Super Bowl. I'm sorry that upset you so much. But yeah, I did not eat during the Super Bowl. I don't eat during most Chiefs games either, whether they're at night or not. But
normally, if the Chiefs are playing, I notoriously do not eat. I can't eat during the game. I'm a big old ball of anxiety the entirety of the time, and then like I'll randomly just slam a cookie or three in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of been like my omen. It's like the Chiefs start coming back when I slam a cookie. And so once that happens, I gotta keep committing to it, I guess. But we had a phenomenal spread, and I'm really disappointed that you didn't have a single thing at your Super Bowl party, because you just killed this entire question.
Yeah, I mean that's one. That was your bad. I think you know that I do intermittent fasting, so you should have seen this coming.
Yeah, but for special situations, like when I would never, like, you don't intermittent fast when we're at the Shrine Bowl.
Correct.
And funny thing is, like, I actually kind of intermittent fast too, if I'm being honest. But I don't do it when I'm around you guys. I don't eat 3 meals a day unless I'm with you and Craig.
Same, but like if I can't keep my normal diet, then like my normal diet's right. I don't know. My normal diet was intact because I was at home, so vacation doesn't count. Before we talk about the Super Bowl, I got a question for you actually, and it's equally I think on target as your question was. Do you think that the New England Patriots got caught jester maxing until they got frame-a-mogged by the Seattle Seahawks? Or do you think that they got caught with their pants down shad fishing and they just were never ready for the moment?
I hate that I know what that is. I want to break my clavicular.
Supposedly comes back whiter in some way.
I don't understand. I don't even like.
Continue.
I don't understand it.
What?
And
What don't you understand?
I've never mogged or Chester maxed.
Jester maxed. Have you munted?
I don't. If I have, I apologize.
Okay. Well, we can probably move on to the Super Bowl now. I'm sure everybody's loving this conversation. I'm happy that you knew what it was. That kind of caught me off guard that you knew what it was, if I'm being honest.
Well, the internet's been making fun of it for 3 straight days.
Yeah,
I am aware of that.
I felt like your timeline would have missed something so young.
Can I tell you? Actually, that just reminded me of something. Can I tell you a story about my radio segment with Jason Anderson this week? He was at the Super Bowl.
I mean, if one of these words comes back up, then yes, absolutely.
It didn't, but it's like kind of similar. It's like something happening on the internet and like an awareness or lack of awareness of it. So I was just, me and Matty rotate every week on 810 every Thursday, and it was my turn. And I thought I'd have some fun with it, just goof with Jason off the top. And I told Jason, I'm gonna see if this lands with you. I told Jason, hey man, I got a new nickname for you, buddy. And he's like, fire away. And I said, you're the Fountain City route artist. And he played along and smiled, and he had no idea about what had happened with Jackson Smith and Jigba earlier in the week.
Well, can you tell me what you'd call it for me for short?
Wait, for him?
Never mind.
No, I'm just...
In the interview, the guy said what it could be for short, and I was just trying to get you to do the same thing. That's all.
I don't remember. It was the Emerald City.
So he would say for short, you could call it ECRR or something, is what I believe.
ECRA. So you actually heard it at least, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Jason had no clue. 0.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I was like, oh, he started making some small talk about it. I was like, oh, wait. You didn't know about this one, did you? I could tell. And so I had to like kind of fill him in, and it just made the joke land even less than it already did. So
yeah, not great.
Wasn't great. Do you know what? Why don't we take a break and we'll talk football after this?
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned into what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home, because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise, because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity, because you won't be disappointed, and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
Thank you, everyone, for obliging us as we got the nonsense entirely out of the way, and now it's time for strictly football. All the way through the rest of this, we will not be talking food. We will not be talking nicknames. And we will certainly not be talking about Chester maxing.
Okay.
We will be talking about the Super Bowl, what happened on the field. Seattle Seahawks absolutely dominate the New England Patriots on their way to another Super Bowl. Just initial thoughts on that game, Matthew.
Well, I thought the Patriots' cortisol levels were rising really early, and they spiked, and they were way too nervous. Patriots aren't good. Not a good football team for a Super Bowl team, and it was unfortunate that they ran up into a team that was very good on the other side that also seemed to have all the right answers for the Patriots when they tried to get things going. I think from the first quarter on, this game wasn't particularly close, which made it unfun to watch, even when the score was kind of close-ish because the Seahawks could only put field goals up. It never felt like it was anywhere close to going to be anything other than a blowout. So, it was a cool game to watch, to see the Seattle Seahawks at their ultimate power, and it felt a little bit different than last year when the Chiefs had the same thing done to them because there was injuries along the offensive line. There was reasons for why things weren't working out. And then it also just sucked being on the other end of it. But for the Patriots, they generally were healthy. They just had no answers, right? This was the team that they had all season. They just had no answers for what was across from them. They couldn't functionally do anything. And it was a weird way to watch a Super Bowl. Hasn't happened a whole lot throughout history. A few times, not a whole lot.
We tweeted out from the Mothership account. It had been 1,456 days since the Chiefs hadn't been in a Super Bowl. So just that experience alone was kind of bizarre, is just not having, your normal routine on Super Bowl Sunday. But it was a beatdown of epic proportions. I mean, even when it was 6-0 or whatever, it felt like the game was over. It never felt it felt out of reach because of how dominant the Seahawks defense was. And there's no next game, right? There's not a next game for these teams, and so you're going to see the clip unloaded. You don't care about tendencies. You find something, you exploit it until they fix it. You spam it ad nauseum until it finally lands, until they finally figure out and find a solution for it. And, I think the Patriots' plan for pressure was exposed very immediately. I mean, from Jump Street, Devin Witherspoon blitzing and, getting home free immediately, first possession. And it just the pressure it just kept piling up, and the Patriots had no answers for it. Drake May didn't handle it particularly well, but it didn't really matter what they did. They blitzed, they got home with 4, they did everything they wanted that entirety of that football game, and it just never felt like the Patriots were ever going to find an answer. And the defense for the Patriots was going to run out of bullets eventually, and the dam was going to break, and that's kind of exactly what happened. Yeah, it was a relatively boring Super Bowl, and anyone that is upset that the Kansas City Chiefs kept making it, this is what you get. You get last year, sure, but you didn't get 2 straight boring Super Bowls after that or before that. You got some absolute bangers. Maybe the Chiefs should go to that game a little bit more.
I'm trying to think the right way to start with this. I think the biggest thing for the Seahawks, they couldn't get a lot going offensively, but it didn't feel like they were both talent and scheme outmatched. It just felt like the Patriots were playing really hard. Their defense was overwhelming the Seahawks offensive line a little bit. The coverage was really good on the back end, and things were going to be difficult for Seattle all game long, but it didn't feel like they were completely overmatched. It just felt like it was going to be difficult. On the flip side, for the Patriots, they had nothing going offensively. Even in the fourth quarter when they put up some junk stats, they had nothing going. You couldn't even tell me what they were trying to do for most of it. And so this game as soon as you saw Kenneth Walker break a couple outside runs and then turn them from 5-yard gains to a couple 10, 15 plus yard gains, okay, this game's over no matter what. Cause he's has the ability to put them in field goal range essentially with any single run. And they still have JSN. They still have Cooper Kupp. They're going to be playing on short fields because the Patriots can't move the ball. It was one of the most helpless Super Bowls of all time. The Chiefs got the break speed off of them last year, but it wasn't until the DeAndre Hopkins drop where you were like, okay, there's no chance. There's no chance this is even competitive, right? It took you almost till the end of the first half. It was even after the Cooper DeJean pick and stuff like that. It was once you had that Hopkins kind of drop over the field, you're like, okay, now there is zero chance this becomes something. This game took 5 minutes of game time, and you're like, okay, the Patriots have nothing for this. There's just nothing going on for them. And that's tough. 2 years in a row, we haven't had super competitive Super Bowls, which is unfortunate. I do think this Super Bowl, though, perfectly encapsulated the year in that offenses have clearly fallen a step behind defenses right now, both coaching and like on the field. I think you have better defensive coaches coming up through the ranks. Defense right now on the field has more answers than offenses have answers. And you're having this weird new age offensive minds are still having some success, but they're also getting shut down in some moments. Then you have some old school guys have some correct answers, aka just like get down there and run the ball, but they're still not able to solve all the problems. So it was a perfect encapsulation of what I think we're getting. And that's going to lead to some more, I mean, at least for the next year or two, some bad offenses or limited offenses, I think having more success in the league than they typically had been over the past 5 seasons.
Yeah, I guess we can just kind of move on to lessons learned a little bit here when it comes to, Super Bowl 60. Because like, I think that is like if you're looking ahead here, I do think that there is some truth to it. And like, I think, defenses are doing a good job of holding shell pre-snap, like just doing a really good job of committing to holding and maybe being comfortable, even at times being a step late. There's a level of comfort there that makes it really challenging for context clues for offenses. And like that presents some challenges, right? So like, I think that's where there will be some schematic renaissance that it maybe isn't, sorry, not a renaissance. I think there's going to be more of an emphasis on Jimmys and Joes again, right? Like, I think this is the cyclical nature. Like, I think there's been some schematic breakthroughs here, obviously offensively and defensively over the last few years in the cat and mouse. And not to say that the scheme stuff's not going away entirely, but I think we're going to get to a point where it becomes like a Jimmys and Joes conversation again, where it's, hey, let's get big boys out here. Like, let's recommit to running the football here. Let's get more tight ends on the field. Let's prioritize the Jimmys and Joes a little bit. Like, instead of a true schematic renaissance, it's like, okay, Seahawks, they have this special nickel defense where it kind of feels like they're playing in base defense because they can defend the run still comfortably. They've got, these hybrid defenders that can do everything. Nick Emanwari being a big chess piece here. So, you know what? We can't get too crazy with it. We're not going to get great context clues from these guys. Let's just bludgeon them to death. Let's turn around and hand the football at some heavier personnel. Let's try to create some conflict there with our personnel decisions. Like, I just wonder if that's something that we're going to start seeing, is maybe it gets heavier again, even more so than it already has. And like, maybe the Bills were a step ahead with some of that.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I think that's definitely one route to go. It feels like the Seahawks were kind of prepared for the Patriots to try to do that, though, right? Like, they kind of said going in, the Patriots' entire game plan is to big boy you and push you around. And they said that we don't think you can do that to us. And lo and behold, the Patriots were not able to do that to them. They did a little bit. Like, the New England defense made it hard for the Seattle Seahawks offense. But generally speaking, they weren't able to do it. So I think that's one way to go about it. But I think what you're running into is the way that the Josh McDaniels, the Andy Reids, the Sean Payton's a little bit, although he seems to be adapting kind of well for what he's dealing with at quarterback. But some of these more old school coaches, I think the areas of the field that they keep trying to attack because they had success throughout their entire careers attacking them are being taken away, specifically in the passing game, are being taken away right now, right? I think that's what we are continuously kind of seeing. And it's trying to find other ways to attack space. The Rams, while they lost, they had success attacking the Seahawks defense a little bit, right? It was the same Seahawks defense that was out there, the same freaks, the same 11 plus really good starters, but the Rams were able to find ways to attack them. And yes, they have good players, but also they seem to have a better understanding of where you have to attack this style of defense. And I do think scheme wise will come around. It just might be another year or two because you're going to see more teams shift this direction. Now, I want to see how many teams can go this Mike McDonald route and get 11 to 13 or 14 above average or two really great starters on a defense at one time. Like, I'm sorry, like, you go look at the Seattle Seahawks defense, it's insane how much talent they've been able to stockpile on there right now. And so, like, good luck for teams trying to copy that. Maybe one or two other teams around the NFL can. I don't think it's the scheme stuff necessarily. There's one thing, but that we'll talk about in a minute. But it's not really the scheme stuff that destroyed the Patriots. It was the fact they just couldn't handle the talent. And like, good luck repeating that skill. That's as difficult as go find the next Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, it's the same level plan of attack. And so I do wonder what lessons actual NFL teams are going to learn from this particular Super Bowl.
You've seen inferior quarterbacks not have or get rings the last 2 seasons. I mean, like there's paths to success. One of them being have an elite quarterback, the other being building a super team specifically on the defensive side of the ball. And like I think that is kind of what the Seahawks did. I will say there's like I still think there's some Jimmies and Joes to this that's gonna shift, because like even if you go look at this game, the Seahawks game against the Rams, like scheming guys open doesn't feel like the shifts, the motions, the Andy Reid style of scheming stuff open doesn't seem to exist the same way. I think the screen game has done a good job of getting eliminated by some of these defenses in 2025. But when I look at like, some of the solutions for the Rams in that game were, let's just throw the ball up to Puka Nacua. Like it was just, let's just get him vertical and run a corner or a fade and stuff like that. It's just like it's like the big boy one-on-ones are back. And like that's just something that like I just wonder if that's just like what is required a little bit more in 2025 and in 2026, and the Chiefs don't exactly have somebody that's capable of doing that. It's like that's one thing. It's like the bucket getter, because things are a slog. The things are more challenging. Some of your pre-snap context clues aren't all there. Just having someone that can get you a bucket, like I wonder the value of that in 2026 as well. So that's just another thing I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to see where we go. I do think, to your point, you will have some teams try to. I think you'll have some teams that will try to go the route of just getting better players. This is going to sound silly for a second. They're going to try to get better players, but they're going to sacrifice their quarterback to do it. Because like you said, you have seen back-to-back years, we have seen inferior quarterbacks win the Super Bowl. Even before that, I mean, when's the last time we had 2 premier quarterbacks actually going toe-to-toe in the Super Bowl? And I'm sorry, Eagles fans, that's not Jalen Hurts. When was the last time we had
apologize to them.
When is the last time we had 2 quarterbacks? I mean, we're looking at what? Stafford and Burrow, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to say that about the fraud goals, but like you had that one before. That's Matt Ryan and Tom Brady. Like you just don't have a lot of these. This hasn't happened very frequently, but I think you're seeing more success now. You're seeing the lesser quarterback in some of these matchups with the better roster has been able to come out on top back-to-back years. And listen, let's be clear, Sam Darnold played way better football than Drake May did throughout the entire playoffs. So it's not really fair to say that he's the inferior quarterback of the two, I don't think, in this exact moment. But still, like, I think you'll get teams that are going to try that. Some teams that are on the fringe of being able to draft their QB of the future and pick 1 overall of the next year or two, they might try to build the roster around a Sam Darnold level player. They might try to go and not get the same guy, but try the Jimmy Garoppolo route again and just see what they can do. Because it does feel like right now, for this narrow point in time in the NFL, that is a pathway for success. And we have now seen 2 teams blow out their opponent in the Super Bowl by doing that, by having a great roster with an okay starting quarterback.
And it's a multi-year decision. Like I think you've got to commit to it, and it all starts up front with the trenches. Like I do think that is such a key cog in all this, is being able to have quality offensive defensive line has gone a long way in the rebuilds of these teams. And like that's where some of the renaissance comes back, is like the emphasis that's placed up front on both sides of the ball, I think, is increasing. And so how does that affect where teams draft, what teams do? Are they going to be more upfront minded than they already are because of the way it's valued and because of how the game is shifting? And like that's where I just wonder if the big boy game just kind of comes back a little bit more. And by big boy, I just mean, hey, like bigger investments up front. Like I think that's really the key differentiator, I think, for some of these teams that are going to try to do it without a quarterback, is you got to be really good up front on both sides, and especially on defense. The defensive line is just becoming all that much more important.
All right, so defensive line, that's a good place to go. I've been talking about it for a lot of this playoffs, and we've lessons being learned from each round. And I've kind of mostly the last couple of weeks shifted it towards playmakers. And like you said it, you need a guy that can go get you a bucket. I do think a wide receiver or a running back or a tight end that can go win despite not necessarily being schemed open or to the perfect spot's important. But we're going to go to the other side. We're going to go to the defensive line. And we've hinted about it for the past few weeks, but I think it was once again at the forefront here. Everyone's going to take the lesson of this as the 4-man pass rush that can get pressure is the way to go. Obviously, if you can get a 4-man pass rush that is going to pressure the opposing quarterback, you are going to be in a good spot. We can all agree on that. I don't think it's that simple, though. It's how you go about getting that pressure. How do you design a way to consistently get pressure, to continually get pressure on your opponent when things aren't going well? You watch the Seahawks. Yeah, they got pressure with 4, but they also brought timely blitzes, right? They were bringing blitzes at the right time. Even more so than that, they were stunting. They are running twists in games, and this is what they've done all year. And I think that is the bigger thing that I'm coming away from this entire playoff saying is, yes, getting pressure with 4 is important, but the era of just 4 guys paying your ears back and take your one-on-one matchups and whoever gets double, just try to hold your ground, I think it's over. And that's a tough look for Steve Spagnuolo because that's his playbook to a T, right? Like his playbook is get Chris Jones the best one-on-one matchup he can and then hope everybody else can play their part in letting Chris Jones go make the play. Not only is Chris Jones kind of aging out of being able to do that consistently as a game-wrecking type player, but I don't think that's where the NFL is at for when you're winning right now. It's about running these twists in games. It's about making offensive lines confused about, oh, where's the pressure coming from? Am I about to get spiked from a linebacker at full speed? Is that 3 tech over there going to be looping over in front into my face? Where's everybody rushing from? When you play teams like the Chiefs or the Browns even, who still have a good defense, but you play some of these teams that I think in big moments, the Bills even in big moments where the defense can be gotten, it's because you know where their team is rushing from. You know their rush plan. You know what it's going to be. We know Steve Spagnuolo is going to send pressure. You just got to figure out where the pressure is coming from because all the defensive linemen are either coming straight at you or they're dropping back. There's not a lot of lateral movement side to side. They're not changing gaps. And I think as the game goes on, that makes it a lot more difficult for an offensive line if they're constantly worrying about twists, games, stunts, where the blitz is coming from. I'm not blocking the guy in front of me or the backer off the ball that's going to be blitzing. I have to worry about pressure coming from anywhere on here, and I don't know where it's going to be. So I just think that that's the next wave of where you're going to get defensive. It's not even innovation, but defense is leaning into it a little bit more. It's going to be a lot less. Here's some wide 9 defensive ends turning loose, and we're trying to get these one-on-ones. You're going to get a lot more stuff where teams are going to be stunting or running some kind of twist or gap exchange, whether it's with a blitzer or just the 4 guys down the line of scrimmage, well over 50% of their reps. And I think Spags has got to buy in. Like, I really think that's the big difference, especially when you look at the personnel. They don't have these one-on-one winners. He really needs to buy into something like this, and I think it would go a long way. So it is something I have my eyes on going forward to see if this old dog is going to change yet again.
I think you're absolutely right. It's a crucial thing to monitor for big 2026. You look at how well developed the entirety of that Seahawks game plan was, just period. But they did such a good job of mixing things up. You know, they brought pressure at the right time. They brought pressure from everywhere. They played a lot of games up front when they were rushing for. Just so much variation. And, you know, if you can hold well, disguise well, and then execute, that just brings a lot of challenges. So challenging the protection and challenging the mental acuity of the offensive line can go a long way in kind of helping. And the Patriots just flat out didn't have answers, and the Seahawks hit some stuff until they didn't have an answer, until they finally figured something out, and it took them a while. So, you know, I think the defensive side of the ball was outclassing in Big 2025. It felt like all year, and I think that was kind of a microcosm of the season. Also, you know, some of the big dogs not making it. Period. You know, Mahomes, not there. Allen not there. Some of these teams that are on the rookie window or, building through alternative methods from just having the dude. So, yep. Anything else?
The chat's talked about it a little bit. We've had, I saw Bumpa talk about it here in the chat. The Chiefs need to deploy, talking about deploying Trent McDuffie like Devon Witherspoon, how to be more useful. Yeah, listen, I tweeted about this earlier today. I think if you're Steve Spagnuolo and Trent McDuffie, you sit down and you watch this game and you go, okay, here's Tariq Woolen, who played on the outside. It gave up maybe 1 catch on the game, played very good, did his job. It was excellent. Cool. Nobody knew he was there. Here was Devon Witherspoon. Also maybe gave up 1 or 2 catches for not very many yards, but look, here's a sack. Here's a run stop. Here's a pass breakup over the middle of the field. Here's another sack. This guy clearly had a lot bigger impact on the game. And you look to Trey McDuffie, and he's got to look at it himself because we've talked about it. I think he has openly said he likes playing on the outside more, or he sees himself as an outside corner. But the Chiefs just need to have a long actual discussion internally, and that includes the coaching staff and the players. Hey, is Trent McDuffie going to be a slot player that completely dominates games like Cooper DeJean did last year for the Eagles, like Devon Witherspoon just did for the Seattle Seahawks? Or is he going to be this mostly outside corner that sometimes kicks inside? And he will still have an impact on the game. It just, will it ever be as much as what he can be? And I think the way we've been talking about where offenses and stuff are going right now, that nickel position sounds like it might be getting even more and more valuable for NFL defenses across the league. So it's just, they got to figure out what they want to do there. And I no longer think that you can just get by with that nickel's a fine cover player. Oh, that's a fine cover player that also plays well on the run. Like, I think you can get by with that over the past few seasons. Like, yeah, it's awesome to have a great nickel, but it's more important if they are just okay. If you have good corners on the outside, that might be flipping a little bit the way teams are playing right now, especially if you're going to be a defense that wants to be able to defend the run out of nickel. You are going to need at slot defender to be good in that role. And so McDuffie, the Chiefs got to figure out what the solution there is, because I don't know if it can be Chamari Conner. I don't know if it can be even a Christian Roland Wallace, who I think has played it well. You just might need a better player in that role going forward. And no one has done it better in the NFL than Trent McDuffie was doing it until he got out of the slot.
Kevin Knowles.
No, can't be him. It can't be a fine guy. It can't be a fine guy. I know you're just joking, but like, it can't be a jag. It's got to be a real player that makes an impact, which is why you got to kind of look at McDuffie and be like, hey, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because when you did it, you were better than these two guys. You were better than DeJean was. You were better than Witherspoon when you were doing this as your job. You've changed your job now, and your play's not bad, but it's clearly taken a step back. What do you want to do going forward?
I think it's the $30 million per year question. And like, I think that's where I think it boils down to it, because like Trent has kind of indicated he wants to play outside corner. He's better in the slot. And the Chiefs need him in the slot, I think, more often than they've been able to use in the last few years. If in a contract year, are you getting Trent McDuffie to play more slot? You know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the big questions. In a contract year, are you going to be able to get Trent McDuffie to kick himself inside where the position is devalued from a financial perspective? That's the problem.
What if you just pay him the same amount of money, though? I mean, like, you control the money.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, are the Chiefs going to be the team that resets the nickel corner market and blows it out of the water?
If I'm not mistaken, Marlon Humphrey at one point in time was like the second or third highest paid corner playing in the slot, though.
Yeah, but that was 5 years ago.
It was a ways back.
It was a long time ago. And like, it was before these numbers just rose to the top.
Yeah.
So like, Trent, and I just wonder if we're going to be able to see that happen. If we're going to be able to, hey, Trent, you're willing to play in the slot, but not at a discount. So the Chiefs are just going to pay market value. I don't know, man.
Tough.
I think that's the big question, one of the big questions of the offseason, if not the biggest question, is how that all goes. And they need him in the slot more. They just do. They need him in the slot more. So I think that's going to be something to monitor this offseason for sure, is if that conversation comes up a lot, because I think that's probably why Trent McDuffie wants to be an outside corner too, is because he wants to get paid like one of those guys. I don't know. We'll see who, and some team might be willing to pay him $30 million and play outside. I could absolutely see that happening. So
maybe. I feel like that feels like a stretch to me, to pay him as the best corner in the NFL playing outside. As good as I think he is, I don't think him just playing outside, he has a case for the best corner. I think he comes in a lot closer to J.C. Horn numbers if he's just an outside corner than he does the Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner number.
I think someone would pay him that, though, if he hit the open market. I do. I think someone.
I think he'd get the Horn number. I
think he'd exceed the Horn. I think someone would pay him more than the Horn number if he was in free agency.
Maybe
because of the nature of the position and having a blue chip player like that available. There's one blue chip player, or previously blue chip player, depending on how you view him, that is potentially coming back to Kansas City. Travis Kelce. Coming from Diane Aracini here on The Athletic, Kelce was seen bouncing around San Francisco parties and events, even as the soon-to-be-married man's next move remains uncertain. While retirement has been discussed, many close to him believe he could return for at least one more season. A final decision has yet to be made, but a 14th season is looking more real than ever. You're hearing that from him. You're hearing from her. hearing Ian Rappaport saying that the Kansas City Chiefs are expecting or hoping that Travis Kelce comes back. They want him back. Kind of feels like it's heading in the direction that Travis Kelce will be returning for another season with the Kansas City Chiefs, Matty.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like we're turning that way. And hey, the production was a little bit better. The efficiency was way better. And he just looked better this season than he did the year before. And I think the reason that you really had retirement rumors boiling up last year is not only like the age of what he is and how it looked and stuff like that and what he has being set up off the field, but it clearly looked like his body was slowing down on him. And he did improve that this year. He looked a lot better this year. He looked better as the year went on. I still think, though, you see the limitations, like the age has caught up to him. He can't be your focal point of an offense anymore. And so, like, even if he's returning, the Chiefs have to make sure that the plan is to fit him into a role on the offense and not to try to build the offense around him. And I think they tried to do that a little bit this year, and the injuries made that difficult throughout different stretches and stuff like that. But it sounds like he is at least gearing up to give it a real thought and a real run mentally and emotionally to say he's going to come back. So we'll just kind of have to sit back and see what happens. It's going to be interesting financially how that goes, because the Chiefs don't have a lot of space right now. And presumably he's going to be on a 1-year deal. The Chiefs don't particularly love doing void years.
They've
and
never
so that's
done a
gonna
void year, have they?
That's going to make it real tight to get a guy that's probably looking at $10+ million for a year on the books.
The dominoes, if Travis Kelce signs a 1-year deal to return, or the Chiefs don't, the Chiefs apply their same strategy to roster building and contract management, the dominoes that would fall with Travis Kelce signing a 1-year deal, that would all but assure, if you're looking to improve the defensive line in free agency, you've got to sign someone to a multi-year deal. You know, like you have to have a low cap figure for 2026. Like you're signing Boye Mafe on a 3-year deal, if that happens, right? Like that's the domino that falls if Travis Kelce winds up coming back. I was thinking about this a little bit though. It's not void years, but it's basically the same thing. Like, would you be stunned if they did a 2-year deal with a real high base salary in 2027? And so it's like most, like you get to, like, Travis can look at everybody in the eye at tight end U in August and say, hey, look, I got a 2-year, $32 million deal with $10 million guaranteed. But it's, you're splitting the signing bonus and you're eating a little bit of dead in 2027 if he retires, but the base is really, really high in 2027. So he comes in at, $9 million, $10 million for 2026. And like that helps you kind of save face with the tight end you guys that you're not just, you're still getting top 5-ish tight end money. Like these are the things I think about.
They're going to have to get creative. I don't know what the answer is because I don't think their cap's in a great spot for 2027 either. So like, it's not like, and I know you're not saying to like push a bunch that way, but like anything they do to save money right now to pay him, you still got to pay the piper in 2027. And again, I don't think the Chiefs cap situation isn't great moving forward until I think at least 2028, which that's so far away that doesn't even matter at this point. Right. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I would not say that cap numbers are my specialty when it comes to football. There's so much going on there that just doesn't matter to me. And so the way I look at it is when I listen to people who are way smarter than me talk about it and say, Chiefs aren't in a terrible spot, but they're not in a good spot. That piques my interest. And so we'll just see what happens. I think they're going to have to make some moves. They're going to have to be really creative to make guys to get better this year, and they clearly need to. Like, this team isn't like close the way it was structured last year. They need significant improvement, and Travis Kelce coming back helps. I want to be very clear. That helps them keep a baseline level, especially the tight end position. It's just being a 1-year most likely or maximum of 2-year deal. That means it's going to eat into the very little cap space they have quite a bit, and that makes it tough. That's going to make it tough to figure out.
Yeah, I think it hampers some things significantly, like how much flexibility that they really have. And if you're looking at a pool of $30 million in cap space for 2026, I don't even know if it's going to get to that high. It could be under that. You're looking at $25 million in cap space for 2026. If 13 of it is going towards Travis Kelce in 2026, like that's tough. How are you improving edge, receiver,
Yeah.
D tackle, linebacker, safety? Like, how are you fitting all those in? So like, I think there's going to be some challenges there. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to get above $25 million in available cap space, $30 million in available cap space. Like, I still think they'll make moves, but I just think you're going to have to, I think they're going to have to make a long-term investment at one of these positions. I think it's going to have to be a 3-year deal on the defensive line or at receiver so that they have a low cap hit for 2026. Like, that's really where I feel like it's heading. And that, I think that would be my expectation for one of receiver, defensive line, get somebody here in Kansas City on a multi-year deal. So Seamus saying, hey, like restructuring Trey Smith on the radar. Yeah, I could see like a Trey Smith. I could see a Creed restructure to pair with, a Mahomes restructure or new deal of some kind. I think that would make some sense. There's some levers they can pull. I mean, Trent saves you 15 if you trade him, but I don't think it's going to get to that point. It's draft time.
Thank goodness.
It's draft time. Let's talk,
less
let's
numbers,
talk
more draft.
That's right. And by the way, again, reminder: KCSN Draft Guide will be available for pre-order next week. I cannot wait to get that thing out in early April. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so much fun this year. But we're doing a little mock draft roundup as we have been doing on this show, scouring the internet for some of the big name drafts that are out there. And I'll tell you what, I think we have a doozy on Wednesday already.
Oh my goodness.
We have an absolute doozy of a mock draft roundup on Wednesday, so I'm really very much looking forward to that one. But we have a good one here today as well. Bleacher Report came out with theirs. They kind of do a collective group of writers there, kind of putting that thing together. They have an NFL draft team, and in their mock draft, their first post Super Bowl mock draft at pick number 9, they have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting wide receiver Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. I think this is the first time this name has come up in one of the big mock drafts.
Yeah.
What would you think about adding Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State into the mix here in Kansas City?
All right, there's 3 parts to this conversation. One, if I'm not mistaken, in this draft, weren't all the wide receivers available? Your 3 big wide receivers, I believe, were all available at this time. So it's interesting to see Jordan Tyson. It does not seem like he is not the consensus number 1. I don't think very many people have him as their wide receiver 1 anymore, which it seemed like middle of the season or as the college football regular season was ending, he was a lot of people's wide receiver 1. So nice to see his name get floated back up towards the top again. Number 2, the actual player. Boy, you're not going to find a wide receiver in this class or many classes that just simply move in a way that reminds you of an all-pro NFL wide receiver more than Jordan Tyson. You just watch him run a route and just how he moves, not the technicalities of the route or anything like that, just how he functionally moves. It looks like what good NFL wide receivers, elite NFL wide receivers move like. He's explosive off the line of scrimmage, in and out of his breaks. He's super fluid. There's good size. He sinks his hips into like all of his breaks. He works back towards the football. Everything looks really, really good. He's obviously a fantastic player. So I think adding a talent like that to the Chiefs wide receiver room gives you a clear pathway to getting a game-changing wide receiver, a guy that his movement reminds me a little bit of CeeDee Lamb, just like in how they biomechanically move, the way their footwork is, the way their hips move, the way they have burst, not necessarily top end speed, but there's real burst coming in any direction. He just has that kind of movement profile, and that is something the Chiefs don't have. Not a Rashee Rice, not a Xavier Worthy. Nobody on this team has had. So yeah, there's a lot of talent there, and there's a lot of like ceiling for him to continue to grow, especially if he's healthy. And so yeah, good player, very good football player. If there wasn't an injury history, I think you'd hear his name up towards the top a lot more often. So yeah, what do you think about Tyson?
I think you said a lot of the things that I like about him. Like another name, like there's some Stephon Diggs to some of the way he snaps some of his routes off too. Like I think that he reminds me a little bit of that sometimes as well. I think it's the most beautiful route, like some of the most beautiful the most beautiful body movement in the entirety of the class at the receiver spot. It's special, and watching him being able to snap off some of the routes that he's able to snap off. I appreciate some of the attention to detail that he actually has. Like he flattens out his out routes. Like there's no drifting. Like he is working back to the football. He's very intentional working back to the football, and his body allows him to do it at a much higher level than some of the other guys that are out here. So I appreciate that about him. I like him. I like him a lot. When I'm looking at the three receivers that we kind of spend a lot of time thinking about talking about, and if you don't know who we're talking about, it's not just us, it's a lot of people. It's Mekhi Lemon out of USC. It is Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. And it's also Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. When I look at those three, I just wonder if he's the worst fit of those three for the Chiefs in 2026 and moving on. A really quality route runner that maybe doesn't have, like, I think one of the knocks on him is like, maybe not, doesn't always have the best zone awareness, maybe isn't always as thoughtful, but is like a really precise route runner, or can get open when you give him and afford him space and give him an opportunity in a one-on-one. That doesn't scream Chiefs to me. That doesn't feel like that's like the primary skill set that I think the Chiefs are looking for. Like, I think, don't get me wrong, he fits. He's an incredible talent. But the overall fit, I just wonder if he's not the best fit of the three that we typically spend a lot of time talking about. Even though I'd be thrilled to get him. Like, I think he's a great talent.
Yeah.
I think I'm just more excited about some of the other receivers in this window at 9 than I am Tyson. Even though, again, it's like varying levels of excitement. That's the phrase you're going to hear me say. I'm still excited. I'm still excited about the outlook there.
Yeah, I think the fit is like the final part. So we talked a little bit about like where he stands in the wide receiver class, how, where he's good. And then you mentioned some of the stuff. The things that he seems to struggle with outside of the general health, it's things that matter a lot to the Kansas City Chiefs. And you could argue that they don't need to pay as much attention to yards after the catch or the ability to beat zone coverage, because like those are the things that they already do somewhat well. But like that's also what they want out of their receivers. They want guys that are good in space. They want guys that make these route adjustments. They want guys to catch the ball and then turn a 5-yard catch into a 10-yard play, right? And those are the things that Tyson doesn't do particularly well. When you watch him catch a football, right? You can even just go to YouTube and like watch some of the highlights. Watch him catch a football. He almost always takes a drop step back towards the line of scrimmage, right? He catches the ball and he almost always takes a step backwards towards the line of scrimmage.
And we've never seen that in Kansas City ever. Ever.
This isn't a D-Rob situation where he runs backwards. Okay, I want to be very clear. This isn't running backwards. This is him resetting his body so he can see the field and then try to go forward and create and get yards after the catch, right? And it's almost every single catch, especially like any horizontal breaking route, he never catches the ball on, and I say never, I'm using, an absolute, and it's probably not an absolute. 90% of the time when he catches the ball, he has to reset and then turn upfield and try to run rather than just catching the ball and continuing and going. He doesn't seem to just like know where the open space is. He has to re-see it to know where it is. And like, maybe that's something that gets better with time. But when I go and watch the Chiefs, that's not what they want, right? They don't want a guy that every time he catches the ball, he has to stop, turn, and take a new mental picture of everything around him to get going. That's just not how they function. They don't want a guy who, when the coverage concepts are continuously changing, needs a second to get back on the same page of what Patrick Mahomes is going to be on. It just has to be boom, boom right away to build that kind of chemistry if you're going to be a high volume guy. And I don't think that he has the speed to be a low volume, big explosive play receiver down the field. And if we're not going to be a high volume guy that works to all three levels in this particular offense, his fit maybe isn't perfect. And it's not a bad player. And if they draft him, I'll say, okay, they know what they obviously have a plan. He's great versus man coverage, which is something they really struggle with. He can play on the outside, which is something they really struggle with. It's just, I really do wonder how he would slot into this version of a West Coast offense, because I don't think it's for him particularly very well.
I think it's if they are going to take him, there is an evolution to what they're trying to accomplish. And like, you want to talk about a bucket getter, he is a bucket getter. If you want to talk about having, hey, there's a one-on-one take it and it's Jordan Tyson, that sounds awesome. If the Chiefs are going to try to do that a little bit more, right? I don't feel like, like with DeAndre Hopkins, they didn't really do that a lot.
Yeah.
I think maybe if they'd given him a full off season to try to do that, maybe they could have got that integrated a little bit more because of the talent, the ability. But like I think that you see some of what D-Hop's able to do sapped by just the scheme because there's not a ton of one-on-ones. Take it if you like it, or hey, you know what, the scheme here or the play call here is really, let's just give our guy a shot.
Well, and that's with that's with a receiver that's elite at understanding space and coverage too, right? Like that's with a player that knows when he's supposed to uncover or where he's supposed to settle for certain coverage. That's where I think Tyson struggles. So like even if you want to call up your one-on-ones, that's great for the 23% you see man coverage. What about the other 75% of the game where you're not seeing straight up man coverage and there is going to be all these adjustments? Now, you want to tell me the Chiefs should change what they do, just use Tyson in a way that the Rams use Devontae Adams, but now you're getting a younger version of that? Like, okay, I'm not saying he's Adams, but like you want to tell me that's your plan for him. I get it, and I'd be excited. Just if I'm going to sit here and say which one of these three wide receivers fits what the Chiefs offense has been and probably will continue to be, he falls definitely third of those top three guys.
We're gonna move on to the second mock draft because it's more wide receiver talk. I'm gonna save the first line of this article from Todd McShay talking about the Chiefs pick here for the end. But Todd McShay put together a mock draft. You can read it on his Beehive. You can also listen to it on his podcast as well. But Kansas City Chiefs at 9, taking wide receiver Carnell Tate from Ohio State. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes needs a steady and reliable wide receiver right now, and Tate is the most NFL-ready one this class has to offer. Mekhi, Lemon, Jordan, Tyson, or Denzel Boston could be the pick here, depending on how much helium each guy gets through the pre-draft process. But Carnell Tate goes to the Kansas City Chiefs in Todd McShay's mock draft at pick 9. He is the first receiver off the off the board as well in his mock draft scenario. Carnell Tate, Matthew, how would you feel if the Chiefs are getting Carnell Tate at pick 9?
Yeah, so then let's go through the same like 3-step process here. Tate, I think, is the most common wide receiver one for most people at this point in time, whether it's a mock draft or their own personal rankings. It seems like Carnell Tate, as of now, is the most common wide receiver one. So you're getting the best guy at the top there. So it's a more common name. It's a name that's usually off the board before the Chiefs are picking at 9. So that's what makes this pick a little fun to see him slide down a little bit. And then we move on to the player, and like Tate's pretty straightforward. He's a big outside wide receiver that wins contested catches, that is a good vertical receiver. And like, while he's similar to Tyson, not super fast, I think he does a better job working vertically by stacking corners. He has a better understanding, I think, of attacking leverage on vertical routes, right? Like he understands how to get inside or outside of a DB, give himself space to work with. And then you talk about a bucket getter and a guy you can just throw the ball up to. That is Carnell Tate in a nutshell. And it's like going to our point, or like a little bit earlier, I guess we can just wrap the fit in here too. Carnell Tate's not going to be a high volume guy, I don't think, at the NFL, because that's not his game. He's not a guy that you're going to use out of the slot a ton. You're not going to drop a bunch of yak stuff for him, but you can just put him on the outside and say, hey, go win as consistently as we want to throw you the ball. And it might be lower volume, but you're going to have a guy that's going to have a lot of explosive plays. He's going to put up big numbers. So he kind of like straddles that line of the volume might not be great at the NFL level, right? He may never be 100+ receptions in a year kind of guy, but you might still get to 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns because there's going to be so many big explosive plays downfield, the very thing the Chiefs have been missing for so many years since Tyreek Hill left. So I think the fit there makes a lot of sense in terms of just being able to drop him in. He does things that the current guys on the roster cannot do, and you also have a guy that is extremely talented, very nuanced as a route runner, and for a guy that's 6'3", and as big as he is with the contested catch ability he has, he's so fluid when he's working on some of these kind of like downfield routes that it's just really hard. It's really hard not to like Carnell Tate's tape.
The talent also changes the formula for defenses. Like, yeah, maybe he's not a volume guy, but the threat of him constantly being on the field still adds an element that you've got to account for at all times. Like, I think that's one of the values there is the talent is enough that you've got to pay attention to him. I think he's done a tremendous job building off that vertical plane. Like, to your point, it's not just like, hey, he's a ball winner down the field. Like, and he runs an excellent post. He's great on the 9 route. But I think he's done a really good job of building off of that route or off of the vertical plane as well. Like, the comeback route is excellent. He runs a very good comeback route, curl route. He can snap off a hitch still at his size. and present a big target for a nice, easy completion. So I think that there's a ton of development there off the vertical plane to start with. There's some promise in the middle of the field too. You're right. Like, I don't think that's where he's going to live. And like, I think you've got to, you're giving him some rounded digs to try to get there, and let him run through a little bit, but be a big target in the middle of the field. I think he's more intermediate to deep in the middle of the field than he is short to intermediate. But I still think there's some work that he can do from the slot, in a reduced split that adds an element to this offense as well. And we've talked a little bit about the Chiefs don't have great intermediate threats. I think Tate can still do enough to be that intermediate threat, even in the middle of the field, running a dig, running a seam stem from an X spot and being the dig on the backside. I still think that there's, some value that he can present there, where it's the first true X this team has really had in a while. And I think that might be something that they badly need here in 2026.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Tate is like nothing has to change. You can drop him onto this team and everybody else can still do their job the what they've been doing, right? Nothing changes for Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy or Travis Kelce if he comes back, if you put Carnell Tate out there, right? Nothing has to change. I don't think, like we talked about Tyson, I don't know if Tyson can go play X all the time. You were going to have to keep him off the line of scrimmage plenty often because he is a little bit thinner. He's not quite as physical. So like you will have to have a little bit of crossover there. And the crossover doesn't scare me away. It's just for the ease of dropping Tate in, it makes it super easy. I do think he has a really good feel for zone coverage. He knows where to find, like over the middle of the field. He's not going to be breaking anybody off on dig routes, these deep comebacks, but you need him to go settle in over the middle of the field and catch a ball in a little bit of traffic. He can do that. You want him to go run a dig to occupy space or to maybe break open underneath some kind of deep post over the top. He can do that. It's like his intermediate stuff is probably a little bit more in conjunction with somebody else or just finding a soft spot in zone, but the Chiefs need that, right? They need a player that can do that as well as the other stuff. So I think he makes a ton of sense. And I feel like I spent a little bit more time saying the fit. I just want to be very clear. Carnell Tate's also incredibly talented. Like watching him work downfield on his vertical routes, there's so much nuance to changing his route tempo, attacking leverage with certain steps when he does, his pressure steps to get on a defensive back's heels, and then that way he can stack them when he comes out of his little pressure step. It's phenomenal. So I think that because he didn't have the best game versus Miami, he took a little hit in like the national perception. But I think as we get closer to the draft, you'll see his name start shooting back up a little bit more.
Yeah, he did it for me a little bit. I mean, I think when that Miami game kind of stuck with me for a little bit longer. I did see this from Bumpa. Tate could kind of be like a George Pickens.
I think that's how he moves. So
I think
that's just my comp for him. That's why I wanted to say that. It's like, I agree.
I think there's some George Pickens to him for sure. No doubt about it. The line I saved from McShay's article, the two guys I think the Chiefs could be targeting with this pick, Jeremiah Love and Ruben Bain, are gone in this exercise. If I hope Todd McShay is right about that. I would love for the Chiefs to be looking at Jeremiah Love and Ruben Bain. If that is true, please be so. Please be so. That would be pretty awesome. I hope that's real. I really hope that's real. Those are probably the two top names for me right now. I think it's Love and Bain, and then the receivers. Like that's my probably top 5 most ideal. If I'm the Chiefs, that's who I want the Chiefs looking at, and I'd be thrilled with any of those 5 names. I know it sounds like we're knocking some of the things with Tyson, but like I'd be excited about Tyson too. The beauty of pick 9 is like there's a lot of players to be excited about. Like it's
hard to be upset with what's there at 9, and like you're right. We downplayed Tyson a little bit, and it's not that he's not a talented player. It's just the more I watched, and when you watch a player, like certain guys are just going to give you random, I don't know a better way to say it than just saying an ick about certain things. And watching Tyson have to catch the ball and reset to run forward, I think is going to give the Chiefs that. They are going to see that, and they're going to be like, I don't know what to do with that, right? I have a lot of disdain for the Chiefs leaning so much into the crossers and yards after catch stuff. But like, I can't imagine getting a guy on purpose that isn't comfortable catching the ball at full speed and staying at full speed and having to resets. Like, that's just the only reason I think the fit for Tyson's not great. But if we're just talking pure talent, he is absolutely worth pick 9, especially in this draft class. And you should be excited if he's the pick. Love or Bane are obviously 2 of the top options. I think Todd's going really far out on the limb there, saying the Chiefs would like one of those 2 guys to be there at pick 9. I think he's really sticking his neck out.
You say that, but I think there's enough nuance here with just the totality of this draft, like to single out anybody right now. Like, yeah, you could say, oh, the Chiefs really hope Fano's here. The Chiefs really hope, Caleb Downs is here. I mean, like, I think you could narrowing it down to 2 is still of interest to me because there are a ton of players in this draft that like you kind of just see like they could 2 through 15 is going to be a wild ride, and I can't wait for it. We're going to have all kinds of great content here at KC Sports Network for the draft. I think the draft show might be started this week, if I remember correctly.
I think.
The draft show's back, baby. Here we go. Offseason in full swing, and we will have you covered here at KC Sports Network. That is going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. We love you. We appreciate you. All juice forever. All juice forever.
A lot of juice. A lot of Chad fishing.